Hello, good evening, and welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, Bank of Ghana's total gold reserves hit record levels of 31.37 tons, a move expected to help CD stability and efforts to diversify its foreign currency holdings. What could be the impact of this on the CD and efforts by the central bank to move away from holding its reserve in dollars? We shall be finding out. Also in this bulletin, President John Mahama expresses hope government's flagship initiative, the 24-hour economy policy, will reduce Ghana's unemployment rate from the current 14.7% to under 5% by 2034 if implemented effectively.
Effective implementation, we are confident that by 2034, Ghana can reduce the national unemployment rate from 14.7% as it currently stands to under 5%.
Plus, Minister for Food and Agriculture Eric Opoku announces plans to lay a bill in Parliament to provide tax exemptions for agric manufacturing to boost food production. We have details of this and more lined up for you. Please stay on. Truly appreciate your time. I am Pius Kojobaka. Looking at our stories, the World Bank has cautioned that commodity prices are set to fall sharply this year by about 12%. The bank attributes this development to weakening global economic growth, and this could have some implication for government's projected revenue from the export of oil and gold in the 2025 budget. More in this report.
2025 budget, government is projecting over $1 billion in revenue from crude oil exports based on a benchmark price of $74 per barrel. Already, the World Bank is warning that prices are expected to fall to about $64 a barrel this year. According to the World Bank, oil prices are also expected to exert substantial downward pressure on the total commodity index in 2025 as a marked slowdown in global oil consumption coincides with expanded supply. It said the anticipated commodity price softening will be broad-based. However, with more than half of the commodities in the forecast set to decrease this year, many by more than 10%. The situation, the Bretton Woods Institution warned, could have knock-on consequences for economic activity and inflation for developing countries like Ghana. The World Bank in its Commodity Market Outlook report also pointed out that there are important upside risks to commodity prices. For instance, if geopolitical tensions worsen, threatening oil and gas supplies, or if extreme weather events lead to agricultural and energy price spikes.
Let's now talk about the precious mineral, because the Bank of Ghana's total gold reserves has reached record levels of 31.37 tons ending April this year. But what could be the impact of this development on the CD and, of course, efforts by the central bank to move away from holding its reserve in dollars? George Yafi tells us more.
New levels represent more than 200% jump compared to the Bank of Ghana's position ending 2022 of just under 80 tons. The development has been influenced by the Bank of Ghana's gold purchase program. This has seen the central bank purchase significant amount of gold for mining companies in Ghana for its reserves. The move was part of its program to move away from holding significant amount of the country's international reserves in dollars and also move away from assets and currencies that exposes the Bank of Ghana's reserves to global volatilities and shocks. There is also a signaling effect for the Ghana cedi, and how this shows that the Bank of Ghana is still in a strong position to support the local currency based on its strong gold reserves position. Data Bank in its latest market update, for instance, has revealed that the cedi has appreciated by more than 7% against the US dollar since the beginning of this year. Some industry experts have argued that if the Bank of Ghana should sustain this gold purchase program, then the high volatility associated with the Ghana cedi over the years should be a thing of the past.
Let's now bring in the views of a finance person. Dr. Benjamin Amo is a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, and he joins us via Zoom. Pleasure you could join me, sir, on Business Live. First off, your thoughts about the strong growth in gold reserves of the Bank of Ghana, hitting 31.37 trillion ending April 2025.
It's a good sign, because it is part of the domestic gold purchase arrangement that Bank of Ghana has in place. And over time, BoG has committed enough resources to build the currency buffer or the reserve buffer of the state. Like your report said, the attempt to diversify the international reserves of the country will mean that the state will have to, or BoG will have to look beyond US dollars and then look for another currency, another asset that is highly in demand on the international market. In this case, that is a gold. So indeed, as gold prices increases, it means that our reserve position is also increasing. So it is good that indeed BoG has committed to, and we are seeing this huge tonnage being recorded by BoG by way of gold purchase.
Let's look at the explanation given on the back of that. The BoG attributes the strong growth in its gold reserves over the years to the domestic gold purchase program, which was launched sometime in 2021, June, I recall. But what will this mean to you, especially when you look at the program? Do you think we should sustain it?
Yeah, in fact, the program will be sustained because if you look at the recent Ghana Gold Board Act, the Ghana Gold Board Act makes it mandatory for the Gold Board to now assume the purchases of the gold on behalf of Bank of Ghana. So what the Ghana Gold Board will do is that they'll purchase it and then sell it to BoG. So that will also supply more or less, rest assured BoG about gold supply. In the end, it will work. It will work in our interest because gold is a commodity that is always in high demand. And if you have seen the recent price increases, it means that we are benefiting compared to keeping the reserves in bonds, in US-denominated bonds, that we stand the risk of losing interest based on what happens internationally. And also, if you look at what is happening in the geopolitics of America and its impact on the dollar, if you keep your reserve in the US dollars, you are exposed to the variabilities that exist in the geopolitical economic situation we find ourselves. So a safe haven like gold will then protect us from all the vulnerabilities that we have in the international financial market. What we can do is to continue with the gold and purchase it. But of course, we should also try as much as possible to still keep some reserves in the US dollars because we are diversifying the pool. And so we should be mindful of how much of it we purchase and then also keep an eye on the dollars that we need to diversify the currency reserve.
Dr. Amo, talk to me about the impact of this development of the cedi, for example. Already we are seeing some stability over the period.
Yeah, the stability of the cedi, yes, one can attribute it to what is happening currently on the macroeconomic front of the economy. But you see, globally, the dollar has been experiencing some difficulties, right? So if you look at the cedi's performance in the setting of the international currency space, realize that naturally our currency will attract some interest. We should not also forget the fact that once we keep on purchasing the gold, it provides some assurance and confidence to investors that our reserves is not based on the dollar, which is having challenge on the international market, but it's rather based on the safe haven currency called gold. So that, insulates the cedi from what we are experiencing. If we had compared a situation where we have kept our currencies in the dollars. So what is happening is that now the dollar is having some challenge, and the go-to place now for investors is to hedge in the gold. So if you have a central bank that is posting increased gold tonnage, the chances are that investors will prefer to keep their funds in such a currency for such a central bank than to look elsewhere. So in the midst of all the factors, one can, at the moment, assign the fact that the gold purchase that Bank of Ghana is undertaking is also contributing to the strength that we are seeing in the Ghana cedi.
So wouldn't you recommend that we move all the reserves into gold?
That would not be the best way to go. You want to always hold a diversified pool of assets. So yes, gold may be doing so well now, but it's always good you diversify across different asset pool than to offload all your interest into one particular asset, which will then concentrate the risk. Tomorrow, if gold prices start declining, what are we going to do? So yes, we are benefiting, but we need to be measured. And it's better if you hold a well-diversified international reserve portfolio than to keep all our reserves in the gold.
Going forward, how do we sustain this momentum?
Yeah, I think BoG has what it takes to monitor the international financial market. With the coming to being of the Ghana Gold Board, there will be some level of certainty and certainty and assurance around gold purchase and gold supply, and that will help. In fact, that will really help in how much gold BoG can hold and how much cedis BoG can use to purchase. The only problem is that we should watch and be careful that the gold purchase, in other words, the funds that BoG is using to purchase the gold, is not coming from printed currency, but it's rather coming from BoG's own resources, and not a case of just printing more cedis to buy the gold. If we can move away from that, then we can sustain the gains that we have.
Very well. Thank you so much, Dr. Benjamin Amo. He's a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. I truly appreciate your time. Talking about the gold and, of course, its attendant effect on the local currency, we are learning the Ghana cedi started the week on a losing streak despite a massive gain in April 2025. The local unit sold at 14 cedis 60 pesos to 1 American greenback in the retail market. It however went up for 13 cedis 65 pesos to $1 in the interbank market. Here's more.
The local unit is currently among the top performing currencies in Africa this year, recording over 7% appreciation since January 1, 2025. The CFA, used by Francophone West African countries, is the best performing currency in Africa so far this year. All things being equal, the local unit would remain stable in May 2024. Databank Research believes the recent agreement by Gold Board with 9 mining companies to purchase 20% of their monthly estimated gold production of 200 kilograms before export is playing a role in preserving the cedi's performance. The deal allows the government to pay in cedi equivalent to the mining companies other than in US dollar. The Bank of Ghana in April 2025 injected $490 million into the forex market to ease demand pressures.
Away from the cedi, President John Mahama is optimistic that his government's flagship initiative, the 24-hour economy, will reduce Ghana's unemployment rate from the current 14.7% to under 5% by 2034 if implemented effectively. Speaking at the inauguration of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Accelerated Export Development, which he chairs, the president revealed plans to modernize Ghana's ports, operationalize the Bonkra Island Port, and revamp the Volta Lake Transport Company. Here's more.
Support our private sector partners to invest in agro-processing and light manufacturing. In the textiles industry, where 75% of inputs are still imported, we must act to decisively harness the potential of a $6 billion regional market. Ghana has the potential to substantially increase our exports of garments across Africa and to the world. Through targeted incentives and strategic partnerships, we will scale up our local production and participation in this value chain. Our 24-hour economy strategy will complement this ambition by developing focused value chains in cassava, tomato, palm oil, pharmaceuticals, textiles and garments, and industrial machinery. With effective implementation, we are confident that by 2034, Ghana can reduce the national unemployment rate from 14.7% as it currently stands to under 5%. No export strategy can succeed without robust logistics and trade infrastructure. Ghana's exporters face some of the highest logistics costs in West Africa, and our export clearance times exceeds the regional averages. We will therefore modernize our ports, revamp the Volta Lake Transport Company, develop the Mpakadam Port, and operationalize the Boankra Inland Port and expand the cold chain infrastructure to support our fisheries and horticultural sectors. These interventions are critical to improving transportation and reducing spoilage, particularly for producers located in the hinterland.
Presidential Advisor for the 24-hour Economy and Accelerated Export Development, Augustus Gusitano, described the President's vision as a good strategy to change the way Ghana's economy operates.
The President's 24-hour Economy and Accelerated Export Development Program is Ghana's strategy for structural transformation to be rolled out in phases with prudent macroeconomic management and radically improved governance. The program is built around three fundamental pillars: production transformation, market systems efficiency, and human capital development. Through production transformation, we can move Ghana away from its dependence on raw commodity exports and towards exports of value-added goods. Through supply chain and market efficiency, we will reduce logistic costs to our producers, strengthen trade facilitation, and radically reduce post-harvest losses. And through labor power development, we will build a digitally fluent, technically skilled, culturally formidable, and globally competitive workforce. Distinguished guests, we will only claw our way out of the economic crisis we inherited by helping our producers to expand and diversify production and export, especially within our sub-region and across the opportunity given by AFTA. Despite decades of heroic efforts, our non-traditional exports earn only $3.5 billion annually.
You're still watching Business Live. We have more for you after this break. Hello, welcome back to Business Live. The Deputy Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Samson Ahi, has underscored the importance of digitized healthcare delivery in building a resilient and competitive health sector. He made the remarks at the 4th West Africa Pharma Healthcare Expo and Conference in Accra, where stakeholders gathered to explore partnerships and innovation in the pharmaceutical industry. Here's a report.
The 4th edition of the West Africa Pharma Healthcare Expo and Conference provided a platform for collaboration and strategic dialogue aimed at strengthening the region's healthcare sector. Speaking at the event, Deputy Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Samson Ahi, highlighted the importance of digitized healthcare delivery and its role in building a resilient healthcare system.
The intersection between technology and healthcare holds the potential to leapfrog many of the structural limitations we face as a country and as a region. Government will continue to implement targeted policies that support pharmaceutical manufacturing and healthcare-related investment. We are creating the enabling environment for businesses to thrive through development of industrial park, tax incentives, access to finance, and strategic business regulatory reforms. We are particularly keen to see stronger collaborations between local and international partners.
The Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Manish Gupta, noted the vast potential of Ghana's pharmaceutical industry.
I always see the rule of law, the chances, the prospects to expand the market, and of course Ghana's own ambition to promote and nurture its domestic industry. That certainly offers big opportunities for companies who want to invest here in producing pharmaceuticals. I also see scope in medical equipment, consumables, and the diagnostic space. And those who are in the healthcare infrastructure space, certainly there is scope for clinics, hospitals, and I think this will promote the Ghanaian medical tourism industry also.
Audrey Sewabonsu, CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Pharmacy, stresses the need for strategic partnerships to drive innovation and skill.
As a chamber, we are proud to support platforms such as these because then they foster business opportunities, knowledge exchange, and open doors for strategic partnerships. The Chamber remains deeply invested in such initiatives that promotes the growth of local and international businesses. Let this conference serve not only as a space for dialogue and distributorship, but also as a launchpad for sustainable collaborations that will lead to the establishment of local pharmaceutical enclaves.
The event brought together manufacturers, exporters, wholesalers, pharmacists, retailers, and distributors from across the pharmaceutical value chain.
One of our lead stories, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, has stated that government will present a bill in Parliament after it reconvenes to provide tax exemptions to agric machinery imported into the country. The move, he explained, is part of government's promise to boost food production to drive inflation down. More in this report.
Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, disclosed that government has put in place all the necessary measures to support farmers with machinery at cheaper cost. He explained that the move can be achieved by removing taxes on agro machines and providing same at affordable cost to farmers. He spoke to journalists on the sidelines of the Africa Sustainable Commodities Initiative organized by ProForest and Solidaridad.
It's being worked on. As soon as Parliament reconvenes, that will be laid for Parliament for approval and it will be handled. We know we are working to establish what we call the Farmers Service Centers in all the agricultural districts. You know, these centers are to serve as one-stop shop for all the farmers in the district. Assuming one is established in Asutifi South District, we are going to have tractors there, we are going to have combine harvesters, plowers, and all the equipment that the farmers will require for their farming activities at the center. Then we have the improved seeds, we have the fertilizers, then we have the agricultural extension officers on their motorbikes at the center. So if the farmer goes to the center and then indicates to the center that, oh, I want tractors for my farming activities, even if the farmer doesn't have money, the center will release the tractors to go and work for him. And then when they harvest, then they take some of the crops to pay off the debt.
Country representative of Solidaridad West Africa, Eric Amo underscored the need to invest in oil palm plantation to reduce imports of palm oil and create more jobs.
We invest in oil palm landscapes just for the fact that whatever that we produce them cognizant of the environment and also the social systems. Yes, oil palm, you need quite a lot of investment. You need the land, you need money, you need labor, you need all the other additionals that is required to produce the crop in a manner that, well, it respects the environment.
The executive director of ProForest, Abraham Bafo, said good agric practices could be used to promote reforestation.
We're doing a lot in that sector. As the name suggests, ProForest is an organization that is working with different stakeholders, including government, private sector, civil society organizations, to protect forests and also to ensure that food production and agriculture production is done in a way that protects forest and biodiversity. And in places where forest has already been destroyed or replaced, we also work with partnership with stakeholders to rehabilitate or bring back forest in those areas.
And right about now, I'd like to take you to myjoyonline.com/business for some stories we have on that portal. BoG's gold reserves hit 31.37 trillion ending April 2025, and we're heavy on that here on Business Live for you. Also on that portal, Citi demonstrates resilience against US dollar in April 2025, recording 7.44% year-to-date gain. And we also touched on that story for you as well. GPHA commissions 15 new tracks to boost Tema port operations. And we've got more stories for you when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Pius Kojobaka, always a delight serving you. Let's connect at 8 p.m. with Prime Business.